Hello, welcome. This is Tuesday, so you know what this means. This is Growth Groove with Dr. Ericka Knight, and I am your host, Dr. Ericka. I am so excited to be here with you, and I don't know about you all. It has been a really, really long day, and I remember having a conversation today with someone that I couldn't believe it was this far into October. It is October 20th, and I don't know about you, but for me, it feels like this year just began. It's one of those things where it feels like it's the longest and quickest year ever. So as you come in, please let me know how you're doing, because we are going to talk about some really, really good stuff today. You may be wondering, Dr. Ericka, how did you come up with this title, 3 Ways Identifying Your Priorities Improves Your Mental Health? One of the things is naturally a lot of us during this time, even before it, but especially during this time, have been looking for different ways to increase and enhance our productivity, so that we can also have enough time to emotionally and mentally rest. And as you have probably figured out, if you don't know specifically, that not only am I a traveling physician who is not traveling as much right now due to COVID, is that I'm also an entrepreneur. So when you're in this period of building your business, that there's a little bit of sacrifice that you have to keep pouring into it, which means you're pouring in time and energy. So you want to make sure you're doing what you can to be as effective as possible during these times where you're actually growing. And I wish people would have told me about entrepreneur life before I got in it. I did not know what I was getting into. And let me know if you're out there and you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, let me know if you had any idea what you were getting into when you hopped onto that journey. And thanks for coming on, Chuck. It's always lovely to see you. So let's go ahead and get to it. First thing up, a couple housekeeping tips. Please, if you know someone that needs this, share it. Sharing is caring. So you also have the option, if you know someone that needs this, to tag them. The next thing is, if you're watching it later, no worries. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. This is a low stress situation. Just put hashtag replay in the comments, and feel free to still comment like Kermit, and then I'll check and see what's going on. But I want to go ahead and get to the topic, because as I was saying, I've also been doing a lot of business, it's kind of business self-help reading. It's development that helps you with professional and personal development simultaneously. So it's kind of like all that rolled into one. And a lot of what I have been reading has a lot to do with how you structure your day and how you set intentions. And one of the things, not only about intention setting, is setting your priorities. And the current journal I'm using right now is it's one by one of my coaches, Dr. Dre, but one of the things it does is something that I also tell my clients and my patients, is it has you drill down what are your top tasks for the day and kind of identifying what your priorities are. And the interesting thing is there are so many things that we talk about, but that actually significantly influence your mental health, because for a lot of people, when you think of the emotions that people struggle with the most, and this is, you could have a mental health issue or just be kind of struggling right now just because there's so much going on, is a lot of anxiety, irritability, and sadness or dysphoria, just because there is so much going on. And some of these tips are going to be things that can help decrease that angst, that anxiety, and that irritability. Because the other thing is, people tend to get irritable not only when they're frustrated or angry, but also if you're feeling sad, you can feel irritable. And also if you're feeling anxious, you can feel irritable. So these are tools that are going to help make you feel a little bit more grounded, emotionally settled, because they're very practical. And that's one thing I'm really big on, is being practical. But you know what? I don't need to intro this forever. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing is by setting and knowing what your priorities are, is it helps take the pressure off, because you don't have the expectation that you're going to do every single thing in the world. And I think on a previous live stream, I showed you my master to-do list. And when I used to write it on paper, it was a page about this big that was narrow lines with something on every single line. And right now I use a project management system and everything is brain dumped into there. But I have to have something else that's separate so I don't look at all of it. The reason it takes the pressure off is now you're not focusing on every single thing. By setting some priorities, prioritize tasks, priorities, things you need to do or focus on, it helps you kind of laser focus in on something specific. So instead of looking at every single thing, you laser focus in on what you're going to focus on. The next thing is it makes it easier to build up wins, because what happens when you have this huge list is you can get 10, 20 things done. And what are you going to do? Look at the rest of the list. What's on the rest of the list? The stuff you haven't done yet. So what happens when you look at this rest of the list and you haven't done it yet? You may feel like you failed, or start feeling nervous or anxious because all you're thinking about is what you still have left to do. Or you can feel sad because you're frustrated because you didn't get things done. And by setting these priorities and prioritizing tasks or things you need to do, is you're going to build up wins, because then it's going to keep you focused, laser focused on these tasks or these priorities. And it's as you do them, you get a win. So instead of looking at it, and I'm not going to quote, I have a friend that's really big on, she looks at what the end result is. So she doesn't really celebrate her wins along the way. It's kind of, when I get to this big thing over here, then I did it. And that can be frustrating, and it can be hard. And then you can feel like you're still sludging away and you haven't done anything. So it's important to do those little wins. So if you are prioritized, your focus, your laser focus, you have a handful of things to do. I think, for me, what I tell my clients and my patients is the magic number to me is about 3 to 5. You pick 3 to 5 things. My dad will also tell you, I tell him the same thing. He says it works. He does it. Is 3 to 5 things that are your must-tos for the day. I can't say I invented this, because I'm not the only one that's ever said it, but you pick those 3 to 5 must-tos. You do those first. You get those done, and then you can rack up the wins as you do each one. You have a win. You have a win here, win 2, win 3, win 4, win 5. Then you've got 5 wins instead of doing 10 things, noticing 7 you have left, and actually feeling like you actually have one big loss. So who doesn't want a win? The next thing is it helps you be more intentional. So if you're identifying not only your priority tasks, but what are your actual priorities, is it helps you be intentional about what you're going to do. You're not going to necessarily be distracted by all this other stuff. You're going to be focused. And there is something to be said for being focused. And don't get it twisted. These tasks, these don't all have to be work tasks. These don't all have to be priorities as far as tasks. They can even be priorities as far as connecting with people. Who's important to you? Who are you prioritizing in the moment? If there's something you need to do for yourself, or if you're prioritizing your health, that you know that's a priority for you. So they can be things that are more concrete, abstract, people, or tasks or goals, okay? Some of everything. So what happens after you're just intentional? Now this bonus is actually one of the biggies for me. And it's one of the things you notice, especially if you are in an organization, or you are looking at like your mission and your vision, and you kind of run everything through it to see if it's aligned. So this one is talking about discernment. So when you identify what your priorities are, it helps you filter things out. So you know what your priorities are. Those are the things you're going to put your energy into. That's what you're going to put your focus on. One place I remember them talking about this quite clearly was in I want to think it's in, I can only go so long and not mention Hal Elrod. In Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Equation, he talked about when he got cancer, and he was thinking, oh, this is my priority. My priority is my family. And then he looked at how his day and his schedule was, and realized that his priorities, actually the way he lived his life, was work. And then he was able to shift that, because he was able to align his actions with what he felt were his priorities, instead of having what he thought his priorities were here and his actions be separate. But the thing is that discernment to know, if my family's my priority, then when I'm looking at what my goals are, what I'm focusing on, then there needs to be some level of focus that goes towards my family, and some of these other things may kind of go to the side. So it gives you a lot more discernment when you know what your priorities are. So if things are not aligned with your priorities, there are things that are less important to do or to engage with, or maybe people that are less important to engage with at the time. But it gives you that discernment, and discernment is key. It is like the secret sauce. So thanks again for coming on. I just want to welcome everyone on who just joined a little bit late today. I won't say late. You just were busy. So, everybody can't get here at the same time. It is all good. So today we're talking about 3 ways identifying priorities improves your mental health. And part of the reason we're talking about this is by having your priorities straight and understanding what they are and aligning your habits and behaviors to go with them, that it will decrease some of the frustration, the sadness from feeling like you failed or you're overwhelmed. It can decrease some of that anxiety from either feeling like you have too much, you can't filter through all the information, you can't figure out what you're supposed to do, or you're just feeling like you've never done enough. How many of you out there feel like sometimes you have never done enough? Like no matter what you do, it's never enough. It's never good enough. So this is a way that helps line things up so that you can remember how great you are and what you have actually done. All right, so let's get to this. And looks like Larry Goodwin has a comment. Have your priorities support and advance your personal mission statement. And it's subtending goals and objectives. I can't even read today. But yes, that is a wonderful, wonderful comment. So let's quickly review these, and then I'm going to get you out of here to enjoy your evening. So the first one we're talking about is having your priorities identified helps you take the pressure off, because then you're not focused on so many things. So it takes the pressure off because then you're going to be laser focused and not looking at this humongous picture that's going to exhaust you or possibly make you anxious. Helps you build up the wins because you're focusing on a handful of things so you can complete those or give those the attention that they deserve or need, so that you feel like you had a win and you can build up the wins instead of having such a big plate to look at that no matter what you do, you never feel like you succeeded, because then you're going to feel like you are stacking failures when you could have been stacking wins. The next thing is they help you be more intentional, because if you know what your priorities are, you're going to be more focused on them and you're going to put more effort directly into what your priorities. And as we talked about, your priorities can be tasks, goals, people, relationships, all kinds of things. But just knowing what they are helps you stay more intentional. The bonus was that they help with helps with discernment, to have an idea of what your priorities are, because then you can filter everything that comes through and whether it's aligned with what your priorities are, your priority tasks, your priority goals, your priority people, your priority relationships. Helps you stay focused. It helps you from hearing and getting distracted by all the noise. It helps you from being anxious, from just trying to figure out what you're doing and where you're going, because with discernment, you get direction. And there's something magical and calming and grounding about actually having direction. All right, y'all. So that's what I got for you tonight. I am so excited to have you. I'm just so excited that you decided to spend time with me. I just don't know. I don't know what to do with myself. I just can't hold it in right now. So again, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I am your host, Dr. Ericka, double board certified psychiatrist, Harvard trained, and integrative lifestyle coach. I am on a mission to help women feel seen, valued, and whole on their own terms. But it doesn't matter your gender today. I'm just here to help you get through all this craziness and madness with your sanity intact. I do that through my telepsychiatry and also through my books, including Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy. If you feel like you're overwhelmed, you need some help, you just feel like things are just too much, you don't feel like yourself, or you feel like you need a mental health checkup, I got something for you. Go to AskDrGoodwin.com, AskDrGoodwin.com, and book your complimentary 15-minute consultation with me. We can see if I can help or if there's anything we can do. I would love to see you. So I have my usual thing. You have your usual prescription. Make sure you call at least one person and tell them that you love them. Can you do that? Do it for me and do it for you. So that's what I have for you tonight. I will see you tomorrow at 6. Have a great night. Good night.